Why is the DNA of the Bengalis so unique? For decades, scientists have wondered why the Bengali people are so diverse, with a DNA that carries the genes of warriors from Central Asia and rice farmers from Southeast Asia. Not to mention how slightly different their language and cultures now are compared to those ancient Bengali people. How did the migrants in Bengal become one with the ancient Bengalis? Why did some leave a stronger mark than others? And how did they influence the Bengalis down to their DNA? Before we get right into it, let us know in the comments, how do you think the ancient migrants got into the Bengal region? Different migrations to the Bengal region and their influences. The Indo-Aryans arrived at the Bengal region in ancient South Asia around 1500 BCE from the northwestern steppes. They introduced their languages, customs, and Vedic traditions, significantly influencing the western parts of Bengal. Their legacy is quite obvious in the modern language and cultures of the region. Meanwhile, the Dravidian peoples, with roots tracing back to the Indus Valley civilization, migrated eastward and southward, possibly impacting Bengal's southern areas. Their genetic makeup and cultures, though subtler, contributed to the region's diversity. Adding to this diversity, the Austroasiatic-speaking Munda peoples journeyed from Southeast Asia into eastern India between 4,000 and 10,000 years ago, bringing with them rice cultivation and distinct genetic markers, particularly the O2A1-M95Y chromosome haplogroup. Their predominantly male-mediated migration introduced Southeast Asian paternal lineages into the Bengali genes. Later, the Tibeto-Burman groups, originating from the upper Yangtze and Yellow River regions, settled in the northeastern fringes of Bengal around 1000 BCE, further adding to the region's genetic diversity with East Asian ancestry. Studies show that around 9% of the DNA in modern Bangladeshis come from these East Asian groups, probably because of trade, migration, or other contact over time. This East Asian influence is stronger in places like Chittagong and Sylhet in the east, while it's less in the western part, like West Bengal. In contrast, Bengali Brahmins have a lower percentage of East Asian ancestry, around 5%. This confirms their ancient natives had different historical migration and admixture patterns. Besides migrations of different groups to the Bengal region, the Ganges Delta, often referred to as the Green Delta, influenced Bengal's genetic and cultural evolution. Its network of waterways facilitated interactions with different regions, inviting traders, settlers, and conquerors from Central Asia, Persia, Arabia, and Southeast Asia. These interactions introduced new genes, languages, and customs to the Bengal region. But there was one problem. The Ganges Delta was also a place where diseases like cholera were common for centuries. Because of this, the people living there faced constant health issues that made their genes change over time. Natural selection helped some genetic traits survive, especially ones that gave resistance to these diseases. For example, certain versions of the LCT gene like LCT-13910CT, which helps people digest milk, and HLA class 1 and class 2 genes that helped fight infections, became more common. But this wasn't the only period Bengalis had to struggle with survival. The generational effect of the Bengal famines. In 1943, the Bengalis faced a famine that caused unspeakable suffering and death. This tragedy went beyond a disaster of failed crops or a bad monsoon. It was worsened by war, politics, and neglect, leaving millions of people starving. The famine was so severe that families were broken apart, children were lost, and trauma spread faster than their diseases. This tragedy didn't just fade away when the famine ended. It actually left a mark in the genes of the people who survived. Researchers have found that the bodies of those who lived through the famine adapted in strange ways, making changes not just in their health at the time, but in how their genes worked. The science behind it is something called transgenerational methylation, in which methylation patterns form in parents or ancestors. These patterns are maintained and passed on to offspring, and the inherited methylation patterns then influence gene expression and potentially impact traits or disease susceptibility. During the famine, when food was scarce and bodies were pushed to their limits, these methylation patterns formed to help people survive under extreme hunger. But these changes were passed down to their children and grandchildren, creating what scientists call a molecular memory of those hard times. This means that even today, many Bengali people have these genetic patterns in their DNA, and they affect how their bodies handle stress, food, and disease. Some researchers are convinced that these methylation changes might explain why certain health issues like diabetes, heart disease, or even mental health struggles are more common in families whose grandparents survived the famine. This is still under ongoing research. The evolution of cultures and language in Bengal. Geography also influenced the flow of genes and cultures in ancient Bengal. The region's position at the confluence of the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia made it perfect for migrations and exchanges. Mountain passes in the north allowed the movement of Tibeto-Burman groups, while maritime routes along the Bay of Bengal opened avenues for Austroasiatic migrations and trade with distant civilizations. The same geographical features that connected Bengal to the world also created natural barriers for isolated communities that wanted to retain their genetic and cultural traits. During this time, Hindu kingdoms ruled the Bengal region, and then Muslim rulers came in with the Bengal Sultanate around the 14th century. When Islam spread in the region, new communities arrived from Central Asia, Persia, and Arabia, bringing not only their new faith, but also new genes that influenced the Bengal genetic makeup when they married and copulated with the local population. Buddhist communities, though less dominant, did the same, influencing Bengal's genes. Soon enough, the Bengal Sultanate wasn't the last major migrant. Colonial powers like the British showed up, bringing a new era of change that again influenced the Bengal population's genes. The British period introduced migration from other parts of India and even farther, mixing groups from the subcontinent and beyond. You can still see the legacy of these shifts in the genes of Bengalis today. Scientists have found genetic signals that confirm this history in the genes of modern Bengalis. While genetic mixing was pretty constant, language changes didn't always match perfectly. Some groups kept their original languages for a long time, even though their genes mixed with others, while others adopted new languages faster. This is why today you see Bengali speakers with similar genetic backgrounds but still some differences. Like how Austroasiatic and Tibeto-Burman speakers show different genetic markers compared to the Indo-Aryan Bengali speakers. The haplogroups in Bengali people and what they reveal. Ancient Bengali people have also passed down special genetic markers called haplogroups in their genes. Among these, haplogroups M, R, O2A, and H1 stand out because they are common and reveal the most about Bengal's ancient history. Haplogroup M is one of the oldest in the region, dating back tens of thousands of years to the very first people who settled in Bengal, long before any written records in South Asia. Next is haplogroup R, which is connected to migrations from Central Asia and the Eurasian steppes, bringing new people, languages, and cultures into Bengal. Then there's haplogroup O2A, linked to tribal groups who speak Austroasiatic languages, showing a Southeast Asian influence quietly mixing into the Bengali gene makeup, especially in the East. Lastly, haplogroup H1, mostly found in South Asia, confirms a strong indigenous background, connecting present-day Bengalis to the ancient communities that adapted to life and endured in the fertile but disease-infested Ganges Delta. What makes these genetic markers in the Bengalis' DNA unique is how they revealed the history of movement, merging populations, and survival that made the Bengal region what it is today. Scientists further analyzed the Bengali DNA, examining their maternal and paternal lineages. They noticed that on the mother's side, traced through mitochondrial DNA, there was a blend of very old South Asian roots mixed with influences from East and Southeast Asia. This confirmed that many of the Bengali women in ancient times came from groups who settled in the Bengal region thousands of years ago. But over time, their families also connected with people from far-off regions like Southeast Asia. The paternal DNA of Bengalis tracked through the Y chromosomes passed from fathers to son revealed deep roots in South Asia, but also clear signs of influence from Central Asia and even the Middle East. This suggests that over centuries, many men migrated to Bengal through different routes, whether by conquest, trade, or migration, bringing with them new cultures and genes. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Bengali DNA and how its history was influenced by different groups migrating to the Bengal region, diseases at the Ganges Delta, the 1943 famine, and colonization of the British, then hit the like button. To stay updated on more ancient history and recent impressive DNA analysis on these ancient people, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos.